What is up, everyone, and welcome to episode 20 of the Trainer Scoop, a podcast dedicated to helping individuals passionate about fitness improve in life and lifting. And man, does it feel good to say that we're here for episode 20. First of all, thank you all for sticking through 20 episodes with me. And to celebrate that 20th episode, I have my man, Leif Nilsen, and a longtime friend and someone that I look to as a mentor. So, Leif, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man.
100%. Really appreciate it. No, dude, thank you so much.
This one's going to be a fun one. We have a lot of funny memories together. And like I said, Leif is just a lot of great information to put out there, not only for, clients as a personal trainer. He does really well with the people he works with, but also for personal trainers themselves. I think there's some great takeaways that we can all learn from Leif. Really looking forward to getting into it. But
thank you, man. Yeah, me too.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, I always like to tell the backstory of how I know each of my guests. And I think yours is kind of funny, Leif. Mm-hmm. So I met Leif back in the days where I trained at Old School Gym with the 4 a.m. crew. But the funny thing about Leif was he was like the 3:30 a.m. crew. Like, this dude was always in here. Maybe the first or second one.
Side note, I've been way too competitive my entire life, like way back to when I was a kid, like always having to be first to get in the car type of things with my siblings. And so like when I knew that there was a 4 a.m. crew and like I would show up and people would beat me, I would be like pissed, like low key in the back of my mind. So I was like, all right, well, I guess a 2:45 a.m. alarm it is, and I'll get there before everyone else so I can get a good warm up in.
Right. Yeah. And I was normally one of the first, maybe the first 5 people in. So I had some quality time with Leif and Jay. I'm trying to think who else usually came like right around.
Karp was usually there pretty early too.
He was there super early.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I feel like I didn't talk to you for like the first month. And
I was pretty silent, honestly.
Yeah, he's the silent type.
Yeah, right.
But eventually we started talking, I think, about like programming, because you would run like slightly different programs than what most other people in the gym were running. And so we got to talking about that. And I felt like, hey man, like this guy actually really cares about, what he's doing, and sort of applying his knowledge to further his training, which is something that, I'm all about and something that I really respect in a lot of people that do that. So It kind of all started there, and I've kept up with Leif throughout the years as he's, graduated college and started his own successful personal training business. So Leif, do you want to talk about a little bit of your background, how you kind of got into fitness and how it's transcended to where you are now?
100%. So my fitness journey started like later middle school, early high school. So my brother is 4 years older than me. And then my dad actually didn't start like lifting weights up until kind of later in his life, until he was like 40 or so. So maybe 15 years. And that's probably take 15 years away from me. And that's when I was like middle school-ish. So I would see my brother going to the Y. I would normally just like go play basketball, or I would go to the pool, etc. And then my brothers and my dad would go to the weight room, and I'd be like, I would just be curious, honestly, more than anything. And then like I remember my dad used to go out to California for his master's program, and then he would like see Venice Beach. He like brought back a poster of Arnold one time, and so that was like, if I like really dig into my brain, that's like one of the things where I was like, I kind of want to look like that dude. And like, obviously that's nearly impossible, but like I didn't have muscles at that point. I was 90 pounds soaking wet, 110 soaking wet, whatever. And so I started to work out with them a little bit. All of my high school career, freshman and sophomore year especially, I would just like go to the gym when my dad would go. So whether that was the weekends or after school, etc., that'd mostly be when I was going. But like my junior year, I really started to get into it. So I got lucky enough both my junior and senior year of high school. I don't know how your high school went, but if you were a junior or a senior, you could go out to lunch. So rather than staying in the cafeteria, we could go wherever we wanted to go. So my junior year, I would go out to lunch with my girlfriend at the time and her friends. But then my senior year, I also got double booked lunch. And so I was like, why don't I just go to the Y for an hour in the middle of my day? And so it was funny. People would give me crap because I wouldn't just go to Panda Express, or I wouldn't just go to Chipotle or anything like that. I might stop there on the way back from the gym and eat it at school, or I might like pack my own lunch. But I mean, even as a senior in high school, which like you are old at that time, but I looking back, like I was still obviously so immature, but the fact that I was already making the decision to go to the gym in the middle of the school day and not hang out with my friends, that kind of like is the motto now for the rest of my life, I guess. So then in college, it's probably about when I started following Corey G, which is, I mean, basically the reason that we met out at old school gym. So freshman year, I would go in the middle of my morning classes to the gym. And then I started seeing this guy start a 4 a.m. crew. And so he would just start training. Corey would start training super early, and I'd see that group of people come together. And I was like, I don't know why I couldn't at least wake up a little bit earlier. And so that's also when I would like start listening to Eric Thomas. And that's when I saw the Secrets to Success video for the first time. And I was like, well, I'm ready to rock and roll. So I was always like a school hard worker and like a hard worker in the gym. But then like it was that type of thing that just kind of connected all the dots in my life. So then I was like, started going to the gym. I went to Capital University in college. So I started going to the weight room at 6 o'clock there. And then that wasn't quite early enough. And the football team was kind of in there a lot of the times that I was in there, which was just not my vibe, small weight room as it is. So then I would go and drive to my YMCA back in Gahanna, which was like 20 minutes away. And I'd go there at 5 because it was open earlier than my gym. And then the Arnold, my sophomore year, is when went to the Arnold with my brother and my dad, met Corey for maybe the second time. I met him originally when he was with his old company. I don't know how much you want to spill in that regard, but he was with his old company at a Supzilla just down the road from me. That was my sophomore year before that Arnold.
I remember that.
I was like, I've got to go see him. I was like, I've been following this dude for a year plus now. What was his like big program that he had on bodybuilding?
Get Swole.
Was it? Yeah. So I followed that for a little while, and that's when I was like, dude, I've got to go see him. So went to Supzilla, met him. I talked to him about Tiger at the time because he had just recently met him and did an interview with him. And I love golf. So it was obviously like, this guy lifts weights and he does golf stuff. So I was kind of hooked. So then I ended up going out to the Arnold, saw him, saw some of the people at Max Effort, and then I was at Old School the next day. I was sold at that point. And I remember I knew Zach Matheny. He went to Capital as well, so I knew him from school. And so like the first time that I went to the gym, he was the person that I like would reach out to, obviously, because he was there. And the first time I went, I used the deadlift bar, and I deadlifted 500 for the first time. And so boom, I was sold on Old School. I really liked powerlifting, and it was a little bit more socially accepted there than the Gahanna YMCA at 5 o'clock in the morning with all the other senior citizens and silver sneaker programmers there. So that's when I started headed out there at 4 o'clock, 3:30. And then that's essentially brought me to today. Went there for a couple of years. Started my training business, so I had to taper away from there just because the timing wouldn't work out. But yeah, that's really how I got into it. Was my brother and my dad, seeing my brother getting stronger for his athletics, bigger for his athletics, and then just kind of wanting to follow suit. That's where the root of my weightlifting started.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear because I didn't know many of those things about you, Leif. And I find so many like parallel experiences between you and I. Like we had the same lunch program, but we had 47 minutes for lunch. And one of my friends and I would just race to the Y. Like it was 5 minutes from the school.
Fantastic.
So we had like 30 minutes, give or take, we mostly just like tried to get a pump,
Of course.
like
Yeah.
changed our shirts, got in, got out, and went
Yeah.
back.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I should say too. So I had a friend in high school that I hung out with a lot my freshman and sophomore year, and he started getting into weightlifting. He even competed at the Arnold sophomore or junior year of high school in the bodybuilding. And so he was just getting huge like that early on. And he would go to the, like if he had what's like a free period called in high school. If he had one of those, he would be going to the weight room and talking to the weightlifting coach and exercising rather than doing his homework. And I was like, I don't know why I couldn't do that during my hour and a half lunch. And he's got 47 minutes to do so. So having brother, dad, and then a close friend kind of really getting into it, that was what really kicked my ass into gear.
Oh yeah. Man, and just that time, I want to say it would have been like 2015, 2016 in Columbus, man. It was just like Corey was killing it. Like I just felt so, it's almost a little different now. Like I still feel motivated, but it was just like it was like romantically motivated back then.
Right, dude.
It was so
unreal.
Cool.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And like I said, when you've got Corey Gregory picking up his phone and saying, wake your ass up at 4:00 in the morning, and Eric Thomas playing in the background, that's what he started doing. Or that's when I started listening to TGIM episodes and his podcasts and different things like that. So I was like, I've got these two big motivators, one in the gym, one outside of the gym. And then I don't know if you ran the Squat Every Day program initially, but that's when I started to do that my freshman to sophomore year of high school, and I put on 100 pounds to my squat in a year. And then that's when I met him initially shortly after that, and I was like, dude, you added 100 pounds to my squat in a year. Like, I don't know what else there is to say, but like that's what like super sold me on you. And of course, like anyone could have put out that squat program, but his methodology I really impacted me, which is why I like you said, romanticized and like fell in love with him in his fitness programming.
Yeah, man. I especially like getting up at 3 to go train that summer, I would always throw on this TGIMs, especially the one, it was called, I still watch this every once in a while. It's called Russell Westbrook 2.0 or something. Westbrook Theory 2.0 is what it was, I'm pretty sure. That one it just had me lit every time.
Yeah. And that's when like early college was when Corey and Maurice had a podcast that I would listen to.
That was the best.
And so they were like, dude, my podcasting has never been as good as like my sophomore year of high school. I would like, if I had 7 minutes in between classes, I would podcast. And that's when like I learned that Lewis Howes went to Capital for a year, and Lewis Howes is huge on podcasting, and he actually like he played football there for a year and set like a single game receiving yards. And so like I would see his face and his name on Capital's wall and then be listening to him. And so I was like super charged up because I was like, dude, this guy literally went to my school and is doing what he's doing. So like, obviously this is
really cool.
Not exactly like the start of my weightlifting, but like to be motivated enough outside of the gym to get to the gym at 3:30 the following day. I mean, it doesn't just happen. You have to have those external factors. I mean, it wasn't just Corey. It wasn't just the gym. It was like everything that was pushing me to go there type of thing. So all the stars aligned at that point.
Definitely. Yeah. It's just a fun time period. And I think it's made so many people, you and I and many, many others to like the point where we are today. With
100, like I would be toward the end of my time at old school. I was like, that's when my girlfriend graduated from OU. So she was back in town. So I wasn't going to sleep as early. So I was tired more, wasn't progressing as much as in the gym, but like, I'm still so thankful for that time there. Like I legitimately like, not just for Corey, but like for Corey Carpenter, for Todd, for Zach Matheny, for Tyler Treadway, for all those guys. Like I've learned so much from the people that go there, not just from Corey, that I literally wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't go there.
Yeah. And just even, for you and I both, like taking away the little things from like his social media. Well, all of they made it
Yeah.
what it is. It wasn't
Yeah.
just Corey, like you said, but the social media strategy with like just the way the 4 a.m. crew was followed. And of course, like Corey did a lot with the Snapchatting and all that, but the
Yeah, for
podcasting.
sure.
I remember, just kind of like off topic, I loved that. I think it was called 13 in the Prez podcast.
Yeah.
And then like one day I just couldn't find it. And I talked to Corey. I was like what
Yeah.
happened? And I think they had to take it down for some reason. He's like, I still have the files. And man, if he would ever release that, like I would listen to it all again.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, for sure. I would love, I mean, that was 7-ish years ago at this point, give or take. So
yeah, man,
to be able to listen to that and hear what Corey was talking about at that point when he was with the old company, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely a foundational thing for all of us as now we're kind of branching out into our professional careers. Mm-hmm. And so on that topic, what is your goal as a trainer for, for yourself and for your clients? Like, what are some of the things that you always strive to do?
So because I like to think of myself as a client-centered, a client-based trainer, I'll talk about them first. So the goal, and one of the things that I heard early on was you don't necessarily, while I would love to keep a lot of my clients for forever and ever, and I've had 1 and 2 year long clients now that I've been working with, I don't want you to have to do that. I don't want you so reliant on me as a trainer. I want to teach things more than tell things. So I want you to be able to, or my clients to be able to receive the information that I'm giving them and use that on their own at a later date. I don't necessarily want to have to spoon feed them literally and figuratively all the information I want to be able to give them. Like I've had a couple clients, like I did this free online trial thing a couple months ago where I trained some people for free online just so I could get the hang of it. And I had them for 3 months so that I could make progress with them and teach them as much as possible. And I've had some of those people, like I can still see them making progress on their own today because hopefully the information that I was spewing to them at that point was helpful for them, and them learning that they have the ability within themselves to do that. And it's not just coming from me, it is coming from them, that they took a lot of that information. And I'm pumped that even though it was for free and even though they never paid me a cent, that they're making a big difference in their lives now with their fitness game. And I have just a small impact there. So the main goal of my trainer philosophy to my clients is I would love to keep you forever. I have, like, some of my clients are now my best friends now. But I don't need that to happen. And I don't like want that to happen. I don't want to have to like give you information and give you programming forever and ever type of thing.
Yeah.
And then, for myself, a goal as a trainer, I mean, it sounds so classic. I want to be able to live my life on my own terms type of thing. So after college and in between college, I worked at a private school in the Gahanna, Ohio area. And I worked there part-time during the school years, the past couple of years. And then this was the first year that I am a trainer on my own. I'm making my own hours. I'm making my own work schedule. And so to an extent, like, I'm kind of living that. My clients still tell me when they want to meet type of thing because I have a flexible schedule now. So you, in a way, like I'm just kind of realizing this right now in a way, like I have kind of made that, like I am living my life on my own terms in a way. I'm making my own schedule, like I said. So now it's on to like the next thing. Now I just got married. So now we're having kids down the line. And so now it's leveling up to that next step. Now it's having financial freedom for myself and for my wife and for our future kids so that it doesn't have to be a worry or a burden on them type of thing. And obviously, all of that is based out of not just gouging people for money. It's based out of I hope people can see the kindness of my heart. Like I literally just want to help people. But that's my source of income. And so that is what I'm pressing so that I can reach that level of less worry for my wife, less worry for my kids, so that they don't have to know what goes on behind the scenes as they're growing up, type of thing.
Right. I think a couple of things there just go to show, like, that's a man with character right here.
I hope people see that. I hope.
Yeah. Especially the first thing you kind of hit on was like the teaching aspect. And especially like you don't want to have a client that relies on you forever. I can really say that I like completely agree with that. And I try to do that as well. One thing that comes to my mind recently, I've worked with a new client at the gym, like 17-year-old guy, and he has never really lifted before. So, teaching things like, how to correctly squat with a barbell after the first couple sessions, or how to correctly do a hinge to learn how to do an RDL. It's it's stuff where, some trainers unfortunately might just, like smoke a kid like that. And they'll think like, man, I'm having such a great workout. Like, I feel like I just worked so hard, but you're not really teaching sustainability so that they can come away after, you part your ways with some like good knowledge to then do this for the rest of their life successfully.
Right. Like,
so,
great. You can put someone through workouts to feel like they've worked out. And then once they are done with you as a trainer, they're just going to put themselves through workouts for the rest of their life. They're not going to be able to make as much progress because you just tossed them information. You just fed them information without them absorbing anything and without you actually teaching any useful knowledge. You just said, hey, go over to that machine X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I completely understand that.
Yeah. And I think that just goes to show, I lost my train of thought there, but I guess it goes to show that you really care about your clients and their success. And in turn, I think over time, it'll come back like tenfold upon you. And I know you mentioned like that financial freedom and just feeling of being independent is important for your life as well and for your family.
Yeah.
So what's your sort of strategy to achieve that? Like, I know you're very active, not only with your clients, but also online, having a presence, doing online training, social media. So what does that look like for you?
Yeah. And I'm still, obviously, I'm 2.5 years in the training game, but that's still so new, dude.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've learned an unbelievable amount in the last 2.5 years, and even before that. But I still don't even know what the end of that goal is, type of thing.
I think that's like the beautiful part about it too.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Definitely. I've been, I don't know if I want to say blessed or fortunate to, like, I've always loved the process more than the destination. Like it's cool lifting X amount of weight at a meet or when you are maxing out for the day, but like 2 weeks before that is even more fun, like working for that type of goal. So, I don't want to say this. So, or ask me your question again so I can hear it.
Yeah. So we talked about the in-person training, but how do you plan on creating that, financial what's that word? I guess like being independent, right? Yeah. Through your other strategies.
Yeah, for sure. So the goal is to not, I love the online aspect because of how flexible it is. I love the in-person aspect because I can manipulate people like with their form while they're there, type of thing. So I love having the ability to have both of those. But obviously you there's only so much time in a day to be able to train on in-person people.
Yeah.
And I started doing some semi-private group training to where I can have a couple people at a time. So I'm not just limiting to myself to one person every hour of every day. So I'm in the gym less hours, but I'm still able to train more people type of thing.
Yeah.
So I can kind of pack my hours with in-person training, and then I can be able to come home and know that I have some online clients and some social media work that there is to be done. And so while it's kind of like, I do not want to say passive income because I do not like that term. I know it's a thing, but I like when you think of it as passive income, I feel like you don't respect it as much in a way. And so I know my online clients aren't passive income, but they're definitely not as active as in-person clients in a way, because
Right.
I'm not there every hour. I'm not there when I'm training them type of thing. So the goal right now, I think, would be to just grow my online business a little bit more. Like I said, I love being able to see form, and I'm a power lifter at heart. So like teaching people to squat, bench, and deadlift, like literally in that moment, is one of my favorite things to do. But I know that it's very hard to be able to do that and scale a ton, because there's only X amount of clients within Gahanna, within Columbus, that I can physically get my hands on. So the way to then scale my way up to some form of financial freedom is to be able to reach people from a lot more places than just my town. That would be my best answer. And so I know that there's also ebooks, there's also payment websites that you can go to. I've thought of those things. I know that they're there. I haven't done any of them yet. I haven't started any of that yet. But I know that there is levels to doing this. And so I haven't dipped my toe into any of those yet, but they're always in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, I think it can definitely help you reach more individuals, but I feel like at heart, I'm almost the same way, where I really just enjoy working with people. Like, for example, the other day I was helping out a younger guy at the gym that he doesn't actually train with me. My gym offers like a reevaluation every 2 months. So we'll do like strength training. So he's kind of like powerlifting minded too. And I was like originally going to set him up with a 5x5, because that was the first one that he did after we reopened our gyms in New Jersey. And eventually he was like, could we max out today? I was like, why not? And he ended up going from like 185 before the gyms closed, and he hit 215 that day. And that was like the coolest feeling. So I know like there's like a give and take to it, but
100%, because I've had a couple of people within the last week hit some bench PRs and a couple squat PRs, and like that literal second of that happening is just phenomenal for me. But then, just like we said, I can love that, but I know that that can't be all of my business type of thing.
Definitely. I think we were talking a little bit before, it's just like specifically your TikTok strategy has been killing the game. So what's your thought process with that as you make, well, I would say the one thing I've noticed about you, Leif, is you kind of do two things on TikTok, right? So like we said, you killed it with that one that's following the trends with what was it exactly? Like you shouldn't,
there's a TikTok trend that goes on. I don't know how much your listeners will know, so I'll lightly explain it. There's trends that go on. People post about the trend and they get more popular because it's trending. And so the trend is there's some harp music playing in the background, and the person kind of says you have to stop doing X, Y, and Z. So like some kind of common thing, and people are kind of getting called out in a way from it. So the TikTok that I have going now from a couple days ago was you have to stop doing quarter leg presses. No one thinks you're cool, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And so I've done a handful of those that have gotten me a lot more views than some of my other ones. But for me personally, I can kind of feel you're just going toward my TikTok strategies. For me personally, I can't just put out trends in a way because it's
Mhm.
not necessarily educational. It's kind of similar to my clients. Like, that was funny and people laughed at it and people have commented on it, so it grows, like that specific post. But the only thing that it taught people is to go 3 inches lower, 6 inches lower on their leg press. Like, how useful is that? So there has to be a give and take, at least for me, of how much knowledge I can give, but also knowing if I pop off on one of those videos, then more people will come to my page. More people will see the actual educational video type of thing. And I've had a couple of more strictly educational videos, like tips to hit squat depth and different things like that have popped off a little bit more. I think I have maybe just 5 or 6 videos that have gone up to 100,000 views. And so I can't just view chase. I have to spit out good knowledge, or else I won't feel fulfilled as a trainer, or as a person to just be going to get more views, more famous type of thing. I have to be able to spread information that people can actually use inside of the gym or nutritionally outside of the gym type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Once again, I think that kind of goes back to the fact that like you really care about educating. And that's something it's also like one of my values. So really respect that. And
Thank you.
we've also like had that conversation of like, you have to kind of tiptoe the line of being like purely like knowledge based. And then, you have to throw some people or throw some stuff out that might be like a crowd pleaser or might really attract the views. And then you can, of course,
I'm, I
grow your
mean,
audience.
I used to hate it. I used to hate the thirst traps. I used to hate the clickbaity stuff. But if you can use some of that stuff, not all the time, but some of that stuff to your advantage, to, like I said, get people to your page to read more of the informational quotes. If you can put up a good picture. Like, I put up a halfway decent Instagram picture yesterday. If you can get people to see the picture and their eyes go to it and then they read the caption, and the caption is super helpful, then it's a way to definitely grow online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think adopting that strategy is super important for trainers that want to create like a sustainable career, right? Because at the end of the day, you can only rely on like the clickbait stuff for so long, I feel
Yeah.
like eventually that well runs out. So it's important to have some real backing to your content.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't follow a ton of fitness people anymore. Honestly, Corey Gregory has been probably the only fitness person that I have followed from beginning of college days until now.
Mm-hmm.
It just hasn't really been my MO. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's my like lone wolf mentality, but like, no hate, but like, I don't follow Bradley Martin or like a bunch of those types of people
Right,
because it's
right.
it's just entertainment. And
Yeah.
so, yes, you will have those big ass people that'll pop off and get super famous and make lots of money from it. But I know that is not as realistic for me or for most people. And so, it has to actually come down to the content of what you're providing, more than just the education or more than just the entertainment value.
Yeah. So I think while the substance might not quite be there for the people that are, those fitness influencers, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, if you want to have sustainability and just value to your clients, I think your approach is really good where, you're providing that education. And of course there's some fun mixed in there
Yeah,
too.
right.
Great
Yeah.
tip.
Thank you.
Great
Thank
tip.
you. Like, yeah, like one of my videos that it didn't pop off or anything, but I put it on both TikTok and on my Instagram page. Was I started a little barbell club so people could learn how to like lift the big three back in October, November. So
Mm-hmm.
I made a video of me taking a bar with 25s on each side, and I like deadlifted with it, I cleaned with it, and then I walked back and I laid down and I benched with it. So it's one of those things that like, that's not educational, but like, come to this and you will be educated type of thing.
Yeah. 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 There's so many different strategies that I've seen you kind of adopt. And Man, I like personally, I need to take a page out of your book and step the game up
Well,
because I think you're setting an example for a lot of us.
I appreciate that. Don't try to give me a big head or anything because I'll listen to it. But thank you.
That's funny. So about a year ago, before I moved out to the East Coast, I hit Leif up and I was like, "Hey man, I know that you've got this personal training thing going. Do you have any tips for me?" And he said, like, "Come out and train. We'll talk about it." And I learned a lot from that conversation that we had while we were training. And we had a cool workout. That gym, Power in
Yeah,
Motion. Quick plug for the gym. Um,
yeah, no, for sure.
it's a great gym. You know, Leif's a great trainer. Go check him out. But
Yeah,
with that
yeah.
aside,
Hannah, Ohio, New Albany, Ohio, Westerville, Ohio. We're kind of right in the middle of all of them. Power in Motion. Feel free to hit me up after this if you want to come train. Check it out.
yeah, most definitely. But you gave me some great tips. Like a couple that came to mind is, having or venturing out on your own first thing is probably not a good idea. Because that was
Mhm.
kind of like in the back of my mind, like, wonder if I could make that work. And I
Yeah,
like wholeheartedly agree. As a 22-year-old, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible. You could
yeah,
definitely do it, but it's
yeah.
good to have a little bit of learning, have some financial stability in the background.
Hmm.
So, do you have any other?
Or like, or sorry to cut you off, but
No, no.
like similarly to that, like I'm sure you've listened to a ton of Gary Vee, and he's like, well, if you want to live at your parents' house until you're 25 and you've got 3 years of meals paid and no rent, etc., like that's a situation where you could like just go for training because you have
Yeah.
that's your stability at home. But like you were about to move out to New Jersey, I was about to move in with my girlfriend at the time, so like
Hmm.
I knew that, like we talked about a little earlier, I needed something part time to keep me grounded to pay some bills type of thing before I was able to venture off and go 100% training.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought that, that was a very, very good piece of advice. I would definitely recommend that most younger trainers follow that. But of course, our conversation had more substance to it than just that. So, Leif, do you have any other tips for trainers just starting out in a situation similar to what you've done, kind of what I've done as well?
Yeah, I would say you got to kind of earn your stripes in a way. So back in college, I started taking advantage of, I mean, not like that, but I started taking advantage of the opportunity to train some of my friends to write up some programs my junior and senior year of high school and have some people follow them to be able to kind of start putting some stuff out on social media that like this is my plan. I mean now, but more so after college, like this is what I'm capable of doing for you type of thing. So um, I had some more financial stability then to, I mean, even though I was in college, but like I was living either in a dorm, loans were coming later type of thing. And so I could do some of that for free, or I could do some of that for 25 bucks a month, 50 bucks a month, whatever type of thing, to where you have to show that you're good at it.
Yeah.
You can't, because if you go out on your own and you get clients and 3 months later and you actually suck at it and you didn't know that you sucked at it, well, then you're not going to have very many clients. And it's not to like necessarily sound harsh in any way, but like you have to know if you're good at it or you have to learn more. And so the time for practicing and or learning is like we talked about, when you have some more financial stability, the time to learn and put stuff into practice isn't when you are going off on your own, moving into a new apartment that you've got to like pay rent for type of thing. So I would just like for free if you can, as early on as possible, like, hey, I really like working out, my friend, you really like working out, can I give you a program for a month to see if you like it? Can I like officially online coach you, or in person, can I show you these new movements to like be able to expand your craft before you venture off onto your own? And like i don't I don't know what your feel for science for school was, and I don't know exactly what you graduated with. I'm assuming it's some type of exercise sciencey thing. But I saw this meme that was the other day that was like, so when it's like a student in class, and it's like, when will we be able to like go out and like in our field and be able to like coach and implement the things that we're learning in class. And the teacher was like, no, you have to learn about the Krebs cycle first, which I haven't learned about since college type of thing. But like one of the things that I do have to give capital credit to is that for my degree, had to do an internship for 6 months. So I went to my old high school, Get Hannah, and I interned there for the spring semester, so I could see how that coach did his work. I can see how groups like the football team, like the lacrosse team, like worked together in the weight room. He put me in charge of a couple sports specifically, so I was like literally hands-on in charge of 6 to 10 to 15 high school kids at the time, and training them and trying to make them make progress. And then there was also another program called Cap Fit, which was internship was your senior colloquium class, and then there was a junior year one where faculty and staff members could like sign up to be trained by the students. So for either fall or spring semester, I trained a handful of staff members at Capitol for a couple of months just in one of their weight rooms. Mm-hmm. And so that was like the hands-on experience that I needed type of thing before I went out to venture on my own. So gaining as much knowledge is great, but gaining more experience actually doing your craft for new personal trainers is even better, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's so much merit to having an internship experience like that.
Yeah.
And surrounding yourself with people that can mentor you through it as well, I think. Because like you said, at least in my experience, it almost felt like some of my professors were kind of just like feeding you on to higher academia, which like, that's what they did. It makes sense that everybody has their biases.
Yeah.
But if let's say you're a personal trainer in like a undergraduate exercise science program, there's so many little nuances that you would never receive from your education, like, building rapport, understanding how to manage your time, your money, your scheduling.
Or like, what if a 5x5 doesn't work for someone? What's next? What do you do? Like, because there's people that certain exercise routines and programs and lifting things that just won't work for them, whether they're unmotivated by it or whether their physiology doesn't allow for it, or their nutrition, etc., X, Y, and Z. What happens next? And like the books don't teach you that. The books teach you, oh, you got to do this 5x5 or another different type of programming, or like this is the next. There's no this is the next step if this has failed type of thing. And so you can't do that in a classroom. You got to have experience to do that.
Yeah, and just working with a wide variety of clients, I think has been key for me too. I think not that a lot of trainers would necessarily have this ability, but don't just limit yourself to one group of people starting off with. I think there is something to be said for, as you're starting out, work with a variety of people, learn how, different genders, different age group of people respond to different types of training.
Yeah. And say yes to literally anything. It isn't the most optimum position to, like, your first couple of years, in my experience as a personal trainer, should kind of suck in a way, to where you are on other people's time schedule. You are filling in hours that you may not like to work. Personal trainers, your hours are not necessarily 9 to 5 because that's what everyone else is doing. So if you need to like be home in the evening to see a girlfriend or watch the game at night type of thing, like, I would just make sure that you kind of rearrange your priorities, because if you want to gain experience, gain clientele, and we got to make a living. And if you want to make money, you can't be picky in that way. Just like you said, like, you've got to say yes to everyone, start to work on your craft, perfect your craft to where then at some point you can be a little bit more picky, or, hey, say I'm booked for the month, let's try it again next month type of thing. You definitely can't. It's very, very hard to say no in your first couple of years as a trainer.
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that. And I'm still living that. Like even tomorrow, I'll open up the gym. I'll be there till we go 5 to 1, and I have to go back at 6 for like a potential new client. And like, would I love to not go back at 6 and just chill for the rest of the day? Yes, but
Yeah,
like you
sure.
said, we got moves to make, so you gotta
Absolutely.
sacrifice a little bit.
There was a client that um, I took. I didn't have her for very long. She was kind of wishy-washy. I like to think it wasn't my fault, but like she was sick and then she was out of town for business for 2 weeks and then just like stopped communicating with me type of thing. But she wanted to meet Saturdays and Sundays at 12:30, which like Saturdays college football, Sundays hang
Oh
out with
man.
wife or girlfriend at the time or watch NFL football. Like that wasn't optimal, but like I wanted a client, I wanted the experience, etc. Like
Yeah.
you got to say yes. Like for new personal trainers listening to this, we work unconventional hours, accept it and learn to love it, or else you won't be very successful.
Yeah, it's the hard truth, but I promise if you do it for a year, maybe 2, maybe 3, it'll start to pay off, and you'll see those goals come to fruition in a big way.
I'm still getting up at 3:30 in the morning, 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, because I've got to be at the gym. I've got to eat my Wheaties in the morning and then be at the gym before 5 o'clock so I can be up and ready for my clients. And not the most glamorous life. I'm lucky that I lived those time zones for so long before I started training my clients at 5. So my body clock has definitely adjusted. I mean, 7 o'clock is sleeping in for me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I've learned to love it. Like
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning, 5:15 when I have clients rolling in, like I'm jazzed as hell that they're coming in at that time, even though some people would say that that's an ungodly hour to be awake, let alone exercising.
Right. Yeah, that's a really, really good tips right there. Do you have anything else that you'd like to offer to the people, Leif?
Um, if people you tag this up on Instagram or whatever, people are always welcome to ask me any questions. Nothing
Yeah.
specific comes to mind now. I mean, like I said, you have to live the client first mindset. I know that there is hopefully, and that some trainers have met that level to where they can become picky and where they can become super specified, and it's definitely the goal in the future, but you can't do that right away.
Yeah, most definitely. Same goes for me. If ever anyone would need a question answered, I think both Leif and I would be more than happy to help out.
For sure.
So Leif, as we were talking before we hit record, we had this whole COVID thing happen, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you responded really well to it. So do you want to talk about, how you kind of adjusted your own training, your training with your clients, and some of the other things that you did when the big shutdown happened?
Absolutely. So like I said earlier, I worked at a private school, and so they were shut down on March 9th or whatever it was. It was like a Thursday or Friday, and then
Mm-hmm.
gyms were shut down the following Tuesday or Wednesday, and then um, I've got clients on Monday, Wednesday, Friday early in the mornings, and then like early like 5:30 in the morning, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays are a little bit later. So I want to say we trained on Wednesday, or closed down later the day on Wednesday. So I didn't know exactly what to do because I couldn't go to the gym early on Thursday. So I didn't set an alarm because I was just like, what the hell am I going to do? But I ended up waking up 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning, took the dogs on a walk, and then I went to Meijer, Walmart, Target, whatever places I could to be able to find any type of gym equipment. So I got a 3-piece 35-pound barbell from Walmart. I got a 50-pound adjustable dumbbell from Walmart. I got some yoga mats, and just pieced together whatever I could for some type of gym in my garage. Funny story about the garage. It was kind of a Christmas gift to my fiance at the time for, she's a teacher, so I didn't want her to have to wake up in Ohio at 6 o'clock and then have to go get the snow off of her car. So
Yeah.
I live in an apartment complex, so I bought her a garage for a couple of months so that she would get through the winter without having to deal with that hassle in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were literally on our way to the clubhouse to cancel the garage, so like give them that back so they can give it to someone else. And they had signs on their door that said we are closed because, and if it weren't for that, I would have given the garage space up and then not had the ability to train people there. So that was super duper lucky, and so I made the best of it as much as I could. So I rang together some stuff, a couple kettlebells, little things like that, brought them to my garage space, and had some people come over to the garage to be able to train them in there, those who were comfortable with it at the time, obviously. And I mean, of course, looking back when things got shut down, that was like the best that they've been. And so, I mean, back in March and April when stuff was starting to get shut down, like there wasn't a lot, like there literally just wasn't a lot of cases. And so more people felt comfortable, obviously, at that time. But as stuff became more serious, I would stand outside of the garage, have clients train inside the garage type of thing, so that we weren't getting too close to each other when all the social distancing rules and things like that were coming about. So that was one thing. A handful of clients that would still feel comfortable and came in and I trained in the garage. And then another thing that was lucky, or I mean, I kind of created the situation like I told you. I trained some online people for free from last September or October through January 1st. And so then I think I retained one or two of those people, but then that's when I started marketing my online training a lot more. And so then I was able to pick up a couple clients from January to March. So then I had some of those in the bag. And so whether that was luck or good timing, skill, whatever, it was nice that I had some of those online clients already. So if I had the experience of training them already, a couple of my in-person clients went online. So I had that experience. I just had to plug them into my system type of thing. And so maybe it's the classic, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so I was in a way kind of ready for an event like this. And unfortunately, obviously all of this has happened, but I was for the most part as prepared as possible. So now, and then I got lucky, or I was prepared. So someone messaged me and said, "Hey, I'm moving to Cincinnati tomorrow. This is back in May. Do you want my squat rack, bar, and weights and bench for like very cheap?" And so
Cool.
If I wouldn't have promoted the garage, if I wouldn't have had shown that I have that garage to train people in, then he probably wouldn't have reached out to me. And so then I wouldn't have had the ability to train people with better equipment now in my garage. So in a way, I feel lucky in some of those ways. I also know it wasn't necessarily by accident either. So it sucked. I mean, I couldn't see a lot of my clients, and like we talked about earlier, I love the in-person interaction, but we did the best we could and made the best of the situation as possible.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. What did you say? Like, if you're stay ready, like if
you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
yeah,
So
if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. I like that.
Or for when you couldn't see people because of COVID. I mean, you still shouldn't be around a lot of people because of COVID. Then having that online thing, be ready. I was relatively prepared for something like this.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's a very good piece of advice for trainers. It's just put some time into getting those systems in place. You know, hopefully we don't have to shut down again, but at the very least, it could be another stream of revenue for you, making your goals happen. So,
dude, I mean, and who knows, with this whole second wave, we're not even over the first wave type of thing. But
yeah,
I don't know about your beliefs, but I mean, I'm ready. I'm prepared for us to get shut down again. I don't want it, but I know that it's possible. So now we still have the garage. I still have the squat rack set up. I still have the bar. I still have the online training systems in place.
Yeah. Hey man, if it does happen again, we're gonna have East Side Barbell now. You're over there on the other half of Columbus in the garage. That could be a thing. Could be big. So Leif, I think, man, you've dropped some killer knowledge, but I think I kind of want to put you on the hot seat now. Just some random questions that might come to mind. So first one, what are some of your goals right now in the gym specifically?
So backtracking slightly. So about this time last year, I knew I was always relatively skinny. I wasn't like super shredded, and I wasn't fat. I was relatively lean or skinny. So the goal was literally just to like eat and put on some weight to see how strong I could get. So back in September, I was probably 195, 200 or so, got up to 227 in February, hit some pretty good gym numbers. Hit 455 on squat, 465 on squat, something like that, which was a 20-30 pound PR, something like that. Hit 405 just in sleeves, which was the best that I had ever done. I hit a 555 deadlift, and it didn't count in a little meet that we had, but it picked up 570 on a deadlift. But the bar traveled down, and then I picked it back up. So that was relatively the strongest I had ever been. Obviously, I put on some weight, but those were easily the biggest numbers I had put up. But then February rolled around, and we were 6 months out, a little bit more from our wedding. So then it was time to lose some weight. So I went from 224 or 227 to 196 for the wedding in September. So cut about 30 pounds at that time. So that was my goal. So now everything is kind of switched back again. And I do not anticipate getting above 220 for quite some time. I think a money zone for me is probably more realistically 205 to 210. And I don't regret getting up that heavy. Man, I was eating so many donuts. It was fucking phenomenal.
You DM'd me the other day.
I know that a little bit more steady increase. And I mean, I've learned my body more in the past year than I ever have before. So I know how to handle this time around a little bit better. So currently, long-winded answer, goals are for my bench and my squat to improve. They are lower than they were when I was 220, give or take. But I did just hit a bench PR of 285, which like lifetime PR, and I'm good for like one bench PR a year. And so the fact that I started when I started strength training a little bit more rather than more bodybuilding and fat burning type of stuff. I was only hitting like 265 or so, a little bit before the wedding, but put on five-ish pounds since the wedding, and then 20 pounds to my bench. So obviously something seems to be working there. And like my deadlift is always my true love and passion, but it's also very time consuming when you do it by yourself, especially when you're pulling over 5. The annoying like having to get weight on the bar and take it off the bar, and it's just super taxing. So it takes up energy from other things that I could be doing. So I'm doing some lighter deadlifts, so getting back into the swing of things a little bit. So last week and this week I've done about 315 for just 10 sets of one. I'm working on form, working on some speed, and then just started up. So I was doing 400 meters to 800 meters of lunges while I was losing weight. So I kind of counted that as one of my leg days for the week, because that's quite a bit of leg volume. And so now I'm back up to 2 leg days a week starting this week, because I'm not doing my lunges anymore. I'm just doing some sled drags. So my legs were absolutely trashed after my workout yesterday. It was fantastic. And my body was like, what the hell are you doing legs on a Tuesday for, type of thing. But the goals are now put on some good size, more strength, and some more size to my legs. I think for now, those are more of my goals for now.
Nice. And We will definitely keep up with you. We'll plug all the social media at the end, but I think from when I've talked about my goals on the podcast, people just like randomly message me or text me if they know me a little better, and they'll be like, "Hey, like I saw your session on Instagram. Like, how's it coming?"
Yeah,
So we'll be keeping up with
I
you
love that.
on,
Thank you. Appreciate that.
yeah, a little bit of accountability for you. Next question I have, you're a super early riser. It sounds like you said, you have been for a long time.
Yeah.
So how do you manage one kind of like the social balance and the sleep balance with that as well?
For probably too long, the sleep was left off. Um, Back in my early old school days, I was living at my parents' house my senior year of college just because I was kind of sick of living on campus and I didn't want to pay for it anymore.
Yeah.
But girlfriend was out of town. I was living back at my parents' house and going to college, but I was getting up super early. So I would eat dinner and like almost go to bed soon thereafter that, like somewhere between 7 and 8, be getting into bed. So like I was getting up hella early, but I was still getting a reasonable amount of sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But then the last couple of years that I was at old school, that kind of teetered off, and I'm relearning how to manage that a little bit better. So setting and I've had some people ask me this before, mostly for relationship purposes, because my girlfriend and I dated for 8 years, and then got engaged shortly after our seventh, and then we just got married. So I'm not saying I'm a relationship expert, but at least with this topic, I've had some experience. So one of the biggest thing for that is just open communication. So when I started to go to old school, I remember I texted her a big long message like, "Hey, this is gonna mess with my sleep schedule. This is gonna mess with X, Y, and Z potentially in our relationship, but you just have to know that this will work out in the end. Like this isn't a forever thing, but I know for my business and my personal life, I need to make this switch at least for a little bit." And she was awesome. She was great, super receptive. But in that aspect, keeping my communication open like that, like telling her now, "Hey, I've got these clients Monday through Friday, super early. If we want to go hang out with people or stay up late, it's just got to be on the weekends. We can't go out on a Wednesday or Thursday night until 9, 10, 11 o'clock at night because I have to be in bed or else I don't get my sleep and then something else falls apart. It's either my attitude or my training session or something like that." So, personally, I've never been a big goer, outer, partier type of thing. I mean, in college, I was waking up at 2:30 in the morning to get to the gym, so it doesn't really lend itself there necessarily. So
Can
I'm
I tell a funny
lucky.
story real quick and interrupt you?
Yeah, go ahead.
So one time on the way to old school, I lived in that summer, I lived in a fraternity house that like I wasn't in it, but they were renting out rooms and it was super cheap. So I walk out the door and there's this dude and like a group of people are just passed out in our parking lot at like 3:30 a.m. And I'm like, "Oh shit, like were you guys like going out? Like is yeah." And he like blacked out on the ground. And I was like, "Okay, do we need to call the hospital? Like, can I get some water?" And they're like, "Yeah, I think it's beyond that point. Like, we're gonna call the hospital." I was like, they're like,
Yeah,
wait, what
I've
are you doing? And I was like, "I'm about to go to the gym."
and everyone's like, "No way." Yeah, I mean, I would have text me on Snap or DM me and be like, "Are you going to the gym right now?" Like I'm still out from the night before. I was like, "Yeah, we just live different lives," type of thing. Like, and
Right.
in last summer, I saw someone passed out on the side of the street in Gahanna because they must have gone out to a bar, and so I saw them at like 3:30 in the morning, and I was like, "We're living a little bit differently, but that's okay," type of thing.
Oh my gosh, fun times. Sorry to
And so,
interrupt.
no, you're good. So like, I never needed that like Thursday night out type of
Yeah.
thing. Like on a handful of times I was up for more than 24 hours in a row because Friday morning I'd get up at 2:30 and then Friday night for a birthday celebration or something, we would go out late into the next morning. So definitely not preferable, but I know, I mean, that's just life. I mean, a couple of times wasn't going to kill me. So if you're in a relationship with someone, constant communication. If you're just by yourself, do it however you, I mean, it's such personal preference. Like, if Ohio State has a night game on a Saturday, I'm not going to get up super early in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to in a little bit more type of thing because I love Ohio State football. So it's those types of things. It all comes down to decision making, and you can mess it up early on in the process, but it'll get better.
Right. Very good advice there. My last hot seat question for you. So as I mentioned earlier, Leif always was one of, if not the first people at Old School. And I would walk in, we just have some Waka, maybe some older school hip hop, but the vibes were always just, it was a lit time, time to be alive. So what is your go-to PR song right now? It's a tough one.
I don't have a specific one. I don't think. Dreams and Nightmares is always ones to come to mind. New Level by A$AP Ferg. Those, and then obviously Waka, Hard in the Paint. Typically, if I pick one of his songs, but I created at some point a hip hop or rap gym playlist, and so I can quickly scroll through and find one of those in my time if I need to.
Right. Yeah, man. I feel like, I mean, there's been some lately, but like back in like 2014 to 2017, there's just so many like insane gym songs out there. I mean, maybe I'm just behind in the times, but yeah, that's like similar to mine, like some of the Meek Mill, Waka. That's funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Leif, once again, I think you dropped some crazy knowledge on this podcast, but I want to make sure that people can follow you to continue getting educated by you. So what outlets would you like them to check out?
I'm mainly active on Insta and TikTok. We are Leif the Viking 17. Leif is a very Norwegian, Scandinavian Viking name. Leif Erikson was a Viking, is who I was named after. So it's Leif the Viking 17 on Instagram and TikTok. I've got a Facebook business page, which is just Leif Nilsen Fitness. I have a Twitter, not super active on there. Leif Nilsen 17 as well. Please feel free to reach out to me. Follow me if you'd like to. And if I can help with your fitness goals at all, I would love to.
Yeah, so definitely, guys. I believe I shouted you out when I did. I need to do another round of shout outs, but I find
I appreciated that, sir.
Yeah, I find Leif's page to just be definitely like an outlier in terms of the value that you can get from it. So go follow that. Leif, man, that's about all I got. If you want to end on anything else, feel free.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Yep. So like whether that's business-wise or life-wise, if I didn't balloon up to 230 pounds almost, then I wouldn't have had to get myself back in shape for the wedding. If I had my online training stuff ready for something like COVID. So whatever that means to you in your life, please stay ready before you have to get ready.
Great takeaway. Guys, thank you all so much for listening to episode 20 of the Trainer Scoop podcast. We'll check you out in the next one. Have a great one.
Peace.
Oh, shit.